What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, what's going on in the United States, Washington, D.C., money, investing, and the $3.5 trillion stimulus package that is being finalized in the House of Representatives that are putting together the bill. They're working throughout the weekend here to move forward with a final vote here sometime in the near future. We're going to go over the latest details of that. We're going to hear directly from the White House in this video, as well as what is going on in our country. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. New videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you find these videos helpful, don't forget to hit the like button for us down below, and let's jump right in because we got a lot to cover. The leader of the CDC, Rochelle Walensky, just made a rare call to allow COVID booster shots for millions of more Americans. Check this out. The head of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, overruled an advisory panel Friday by approving the distribution of the Pfizer shot, the Pfizer booster shot, also known as a third shot, for a wide array of workers across the United States. The CDC director, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, signed off on a series of recommendations from the panel, including distributing the shots to older Americans and adults with underlying medical conditions at least 6 months after their first series of shots. But she broke from the panel by also clearing booster shots for those in high-risk occupational and institutional settings in an unusual decision that's likely to stoke protests from anti-vaccine advocates. Quote, as CDC director, it is my job to recognize where our actions can have the greatest impact, unquote, Walensky said in a statement. Quote, at the CDC, we are tasked with analyzing complex, often imperfect data to make concrete recommendations that optimize health. In a pandemic, even with the uncertainty, we must take action that we anticipate will do the greatest good. The highly unusual move aligns with the FDA's authorization of the shots earlier this week, she noted. Millions of Americans who are at risk for the virus will now be able to receive a Pfizer booster shot to increase their protection as the highly contagious Delta variant continues to tear across the country. Quote, the majority of Americans who are fully vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine are now able to receive the booster shot 6 months after they have received their second shot, President Joe Biden said in addressing the nation on Friday, today. He said 60 million Americans are now eligible for a third shot, including healthcare workers, teachers, and grocery store employees. Hours before, the agency's advisory committee on immunization practices endorsed giving third Pfizer shots to people 65 and older and nursing home residents, as well as people 18 to 64 years old with underlying medical conditions like pregnancy, HIV, cancer, diabetes, obesity, or heart disease. However, Walensky reversed a decision that was rejected by the panel Thursday evening. The panel voted 9-6 against giving booster shots to adults at higher risk of exposure to the virus due to their workplace or institutional setting. While the FDA and the CDC reviewed the data only for the Pfizer vaccine at this point, Walensky said they will move with the same sense of urgency on recommendations for Moderna and the Johnson & Johnson boosters as soon as that data is available. Moderna submitted its application for booster shots on September 1st, and Johnson & Johnson said Wednesday that it also submitted its data showing that an extra dose of its vaccine raises protection against infection to 94%. The FDA, which vets those applications before the CDC, hasn't yet announced when it will review the data yet. Quote, my message for you is this, you still have a high degree of protection, Biden said to recipients of those two vaccines. He said regulators are working day and night to analyze the data. Here's what the CDC recommends. People 65 and older are residents in long-term care should receive a booster shot of Pfizer's vaccine at least 6 months after their primary series. Number 2, people 50 to 64 years old with underlying medical conditions should receive a booster shot from Pfizer at least 6 months after their primary series. People 18 to 49 with underlying medical conditions may receive a booster shot at least 6 months after their primary series, depending on their individual benefits and risks. People 18 to 64 who are at an increased risk for virus exposure and transmission because of occupational or institutional settings may receive a booster shot of Pfizer vaccine at least 6 months after their primary series based on individual benefits and risks. Earlier Thursday, the CDC advisory panel struggled over the controversial proposal to give boosters to the wide swath of the U.S. population. In breaking from the panel, Walensky has paved the way to distribute shots to nursing home staff, people who live or work in prisons, homeless shelters, frontline health employees, unpaid caregivers, teachers, and other essential workers. Dr. Pablo Sanchez said before voting against the proposals, he says, quote, I mean, we might as well just say, just give it to everybody age 18 and over as a counterpoint. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. It does kind of seem that if you want a third booster shot, you might be able to get it for most conditions. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And just to give you a quick update on how the country is doing with cases right now, Wisconsin says that children account for more virus cases than any other age group. So children are actually more cases in Wisconsin than adults. Yeah, kind of crazy. And in the U.S., we're averaging about 134,000 cases per day on a 7-day average. We had 130,000 people test positive yesterday. And the most recent data as of September 21st and September 20th, we're averaging about 134,000 cases per day, people testing positive. As of the 20th, we had 207,000 people test positive on the 20th. For deaths, we had 2,366 people die on the 20th, on the 21st. And for example, that's about how many people passed away in Pearl Harbor. So that's about Pearl Harbor happening almost every single day here in the United States from this pandemic, which is a very sad, sobering fact. Next up is White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki to give us an update on the next stimulus package, $3.5 trillion stimulus package, the infrastructure package, and the U.S. debt ceiling and government shutdown. Yeah, there's a lot going on here in our country as we have to kind of deal with all these right now at the same time. Here is White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
So joining me now, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, who you don't have much to do here.
No.
Can just chill out and relax.
It's a slow time here.
Okay, first of all, preparing for a potential government shutdown. What's the plan, and what about public health in lieu of if that happens?
Well, obviously we want to avoid a shutdown, and we're doing everything to avoid a shutdown. The good news is that a lot of public health work, most public health work will be exempt if there is a shutdown, but there's no question it's not helpful to fight a pandemic or to address all the challenges we have in the country if the government shuts down.
Okay, so we're going to be inching toward that, and the Republicans are kind of lumping that on Democrats.
They are. Now, this is crazy what's happening right now, because the House has passed a continuing resolution that would keep the government open. Mm-hmm. Everyone can be secured, the government stays open, all their services. That included raising the debt limit. Mm-hmm. The Senate could pass that tomorrow. Senate Republicans are saying we should raise the debt limit, where it would be bad for our economy, it would be devastating for our economy. Yet they still do not want to raise the debt limit. They want to play games with our economy, with the full faith and credit of the United States. They could vote on that today.
Meanwhile, there's a lot of talk about the infrastructure package, reconciliation, And the bottom line is it comes down to the amount of money being spent and what's going to have to go. So my big question to you is what's not going to see the light of day in the end here in order to get something passed? Because obviously the American people are waiting for bridges and roads and for things to be improved in this country. And there's a lot of Democrats who really feel it's important to work on human infrastructure to make it so that women don't have to, I mean, you just came running from literally what we're talking about, care issues.
Yes.
Is child care and is family leave, are those things going to see the light of day?
Well, they're in the light of day right now. It is true.
Are they going to stay in the light of day?
It is true that right now, the next couple of days are going to be a pivotal period of compromise and discussion. The president will have his sleeves rolled up. He'll be calling people. He'll be meeting with people. But what is central to this package and what is very important to the president is lowering costs for the American people. As you referenced, child care, elder care. So many people like myself, you're in the in-between sandwich generation. Lowering the cost for college, for universal pre-K. Those are all pieces that are important to the president, as are rebuilding our roads, rails, and bridges in these two packages. He also knows there has to be compromise, there has to be negotiation. The good news is that most Democrats agree we have to lower all those costs. Child care, college, preschool. That's important to people across the country, regardless of your political affiliation. The question is really the size, as you said, and that's what they're talking about now.
So something is going to have to go, and progressives and moderates are going to have to somehow come together. What is it about President Biden that you think will be able to make that happen? Is he going to be able to get those two sides to come together and agree to move forward?
He's certainly going to work his heart out
What's he
at
gonna
doing
do?
that. Well, just 2 days ago, he had a group of moderates, a group of progressives, leadership down here at the White House. Yesterday, there was a lot of behind-the-scenes sausage-making work that was happening to continue to make progress. And we evaluate day by day what he needs to do, how he needs to get engaged, who he needs to call, who he needs to invite here in order to make progress. So the next couple days are going to be important, but we also know we're in the middle of a process. What I will say about him is he's an excellent listener. He's also someone who believes in compromise, believes in bringing sides together and unifying people. That's how he ran, and he's working to do that with this package.
Any plans today to meet with anybody to move any of this forward?
We will see. I know this sounds crazy, but we may decide in an hour or two that that's an important thing to do and bring people down here. Or maybe we'll meet with people at a staff level. Or maybe people will go to the Hill. We make decisions hour by hour on how to move things forward.
Okay, still want to know if paid leave is going to see the light of day. Not getting a complete yes.
Well, here's what's important. It's not necessarily true that something has to drop out. All of these pieces are in the package. They're in the package because the president felt they were vitally important to women, to families, to lowering costs for people across the country, to being more competitive over the long term. Now we have to figure out how we can get agreement to get enough votes to get the package across the finish line.
Let's talk.
Yeah, so a lot of different things going on here. One, you can see here, President Biden had productive meetings with divided Democrats, but more work remains on spending bills. He had meetings about 48 hours ago with both progressive Democrats and moderate Democrats again. This is another meeting past the initial meeting that was with Senator Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema. This was a larger meeting with more moderates and progressives. Also, the White House prepares for potential shutdown as leaders grapple with crucial deadlines and the Biden agenda. So the White House is preparing for a potential shutdown as they can't come to an agreement with the Republicans. And it might not be possible to pass the reconciliation process before the end of this month, which is now in less than 6 days. So the Democrats can pass a bill to possibly avert a government shutdown and a debt limit. But the question is, can they do that on their own before the end of the month? And a lot of Democrats are saying that it might not be possible. So the White House has sent out information saying to prepare for a potential shutdown. Also, Treasury Secretary and the information is coming out that the U.S. could default. Remember, the default, the debt limit ceiling and a U.S. government default is different than a government shutdown. The U.S. could default on debt as soon as October 15th. according to a new analysis. Remember, the government has never defaulted. The government has never defaulted, and a U.S. default on debt is basically essentially the same thing as going bankrupt, or essentially the same thing as running out of money. The government would not be able to pay its bills. We've had Senator Bernie Sanders on the show yesterday that Social Security payments could be in jeopardy because if the government doesn't have money, they might not be able to pay out Social Security. They might not be able to pay payments to the military. They might not be able to pay payments to child tax credits. Anything, any type of money that comes from the government could be in jeopardy. Now, mind you, I say could be because the government has never defaulted. So we don't know exactly what could happen because it's never happened before. We've had government shutdowns before. But a government shutdown, which is going to happen on September 30th at midnight or October 1st at 12:01 a.m. We've had government shutdowns before, and they're bad. But a government default is much, much, much worse. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said it would be cataclysmic. It would be terrible. It would be the worst thing potentially to ever happen to our economy. It's akin to the government just running out of money. It would be like the U.S. government's telling the world that we can't pay our bills, we have no money. Or the government saying we have some money coming in from whatever money's coming in, but we don't have enough to pay our bills, and we have to pick and choose what bills we would pay. Like I said, that's the worst case scenario. That is the one thing we do not want to see. And you heard White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki say that we had the vote in the House, and we covered that here on the show, I don't know, maybe about 48 hours ago or so, where it passed in the House. 220 Democrats voted yes, and 211 Republicans voted no. There was one non-vote. One Republican didn't vote. And all the Republicans voted no to the bill. So all the Republicans voted to essentially let the government default. Now, that bill passed the House because the Democrats passed the bill on their own. But that bill is going to have to go to the Senate. That could be voted on today. That could be voted on tomorrow when they decide to vote on it. But that bill will not pass the House. It's a combined government shutdown bill and a debt limit, raising the debt limit. That bill will not pass the Senate unless they get 10 Republican votes. And remember, they didn't get a single Republican vote from the House out of 212 Republicans, and there's only 50 Republicans in the Senate. So unless they somehow magically change the Republicans' mind, that is not going to pass the Senate. Now, the Democrats can pass a bill on their own, and this is what Republicans are saying. Republicans are saying, well, the Democrats should just do this on their own. And in theory, that sounds okay, but the reconciliation process is this big old process that has required hours of debate on the floor, and this stimulus package that not a single Republican wants any more stimulus for Americans. Not a single Republican voted yes on the third stimulus check package. When you got your third stimulus check, not a single Republican voted yes on that, just so everybody's clear. And not a single Republican voted yes on that $3,000 to $3,600 child tax credit. Just so everybody's clear on that. Not a single Republican is going to vote yes on this next stimulus package either. The Democrats might not have time to pass this entire stimulus package in time. So that's why we're seeing these headlines now like this: White House prepares for potential shutdown as leaders grapple with crucial deadlines, and the U.S. could default on debt as soon as October 15th, according to this new analysis. The U.S. is on track to default on its national debt sometime between October 15th and November 4th if Congress is unable to raise the federal debt ceiling, according to a forecast released Friday by the Bipartisan Policy Center. BPC's new projection narrowed their expected window in which the U.S. is likely to hit the X date, the day when the Treasury Department runs out of cash to meet the country's obligations. Doesn't sound like a fun date. The U.S. has never defaulted on its debt, and experts say doing so could cause catastrophic damage. Quote, what Treasury would do in that situation is uncertain. We've never been there before, said Shai Akbaz, BPC's Director of Economic Policy. What we do know is that the risk would be significant and the cost potential would be extremely high. The Treasury Department is currently using extraordinary measures to keep the country current on its bills. Raising or suspending the debt limit does not directly affect the size of the national debt. Instead, it allows the Treasury to borrow more money to pay expenses already approved by several presidents and lawmakers, several past presidents, basically, and lawmakers. Meanwhile, on Monday, we have a very crucial vote for the physical infrastructure plan package that is already approved by the Senate. And we have some progressive Democrats saying they're going to vote no on that if the stimulus package is not voted for before that. And we're not sure if the stimulus package is going to be done on that. The stimulus package, the House of Representatives is going to be working throughout the entire weekend. As you can see here, the House of Representatives will be working on and taking up and marking up the $3.5 trillion stimulus package this entire weekend. So don't miss any episodes. I will keep you up to date on what they are working on throughout this weekend as they move towards the finalization of the $3.5 trillion stimulus package and the debt limit ceiling and the government shutdown, which is now going to happen in 6 days. Yeah, we got a lot going on. I will keep you up to date on everything. Make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so you don't miss out on new episodes. After subscribing, click the bell icon to all notifications if you haven't done that yet. Subscribing is completely free to do so. You can also click the share button down below to share this on Facebook or share this with your friends and family so that they know what is going on with this government shutdown, with this debt limit ceiling default situation, and with the next stimulus package, which is expected to be the largest stimulus package yet to date. You can click this video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video is how there could be a $1,000 stimulus debit card included in the next stimulus package. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.